That's yes, we do. All right. So we're here studying through the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are on the chapter titled Rules for Householders and Monks. And we were talking a little bit, Thakur was saying that that during his boyhood, he would learn a lot from the sadhus. And he didn't speak Sanskrit, but he said he could sort of understand it. Because Sanskrit actually is the base language for like 14 of the languages in India. So that's probably one of the reasons he could catch words or sort of understand them as they spoke Bengali or spoke Sanskrit. But he was saying that he didn't speak it himself, and so that explains his first statement today, which is one I'm going to adopt when people ask me if I know Sanskrit. The realization of God is enough for me. What does it matter if I don't know Sanskrit? So there's my official answer. If anybody asks me, why don't you speak Sanskrit? I was like, oh, realization's enough for me. So, but this is an important thing, that really what we know is not the most important thing. Now we use the mind to pluck out the other thorn, right? So we use the mind to remove our ignorance to kind of help us get to the point. But ultimately we throw mind away as a sounding board. We toss it away also. It's not necessary. In the silence of mind is where our natural knowledge is. It's not a relational knowledge. It's a knowledge that's available spontaneously in the moment as the moment requires, right? And so that's what it is to be realized. You're living absolutely in the moment so that everything that happens with you is spontaneous. It's not a result of calculation. It's not a result of needing to go get something or wanting something or to get a result of any kind. That for the realized soul, everything is a matter of inspiration in the moment. It is God moving through them at that point because there's no egoism to block that relationship, no egoism blocking out the voice of the beloved, no egoism forcing the action of the individual. He says the grace of God falls alike on all his children, right? So the grace of God is everywhere present and it's falling alike on every child. This is an important statement. So that means it doesn't mean that some people are getting grace and some people aren't getting grace. We talk about that a lot, and it's not like that. God's grace falls evenly on all his children, learned and illiterate, whoever longs for him. The father has the same love for all of his children. Suppose a father has 5 children, and one calls him Baba, some Ba, and another one calls him Pa. The last cannot pronounce the whole word. Does the father love those who address him as Baba more than those who address him as Pa? The father knows that these last are simply too young to say Baba correctly. Right? So there's just this knowledge that the grace is equal upon us, but our spiritual age is different. Some of us are younger, some of us are older, some of us are just in different spots. But God meets us where we are. There's no need. There's no need to decry our misfortune because somehow we don't have the grace of God. So this promise is an important one. Again, for our time in the shrine, everything comes down to me anyway. For our time in the shrine, your time in the shrine is going to be the most beautiful when you've learned to accept grace at the fundamental levels, the deepest levels. And so that you can release yourself from the need to sort through your karma, from the need to maintain a narrative of who you are and how you act and what you are. That as we progress in these things, it's through the acceptance of grace that we grow, because it's the grace that is the battery of our growth. As we accept grace, the inspiration grows within us. The inspiration grows within us, our love grows within us, our gratitude and recognition of that grace and love grows within us. And so we slowly approach that enlightened state of being moved only by inspiration. by the inspiration of the love of God. That is what it is to know the beloved, to know God. You know pure love. And what can you do but trust pure love? Toss yourself into pure love. Since this injury to my arm, a change has been coming over my mind. I have been feeling much inclined to the Nara Leela. It is God himself who plays about as human beings. If God can be worshipped through a clay image, then why not through a man? Right? So he's teaching us here and actually coming into the understanding of himself, of the world as dream. Seeing that it is God who has become all the human beings, just like you and your dream are everything in that dream, right? But only identify with one. And so it is in this life. We actually are, or God has become everything, including you and I. But we believe in our own existence as separate and apart because it's just part of the dream that we're in. But he's starting to understand that it's God who's playing all these parts. And so if it's God, if it's one without a second, why can't we worship God through one another? Why can't I offer you the food? Why can't I offer you my love? Why can't I offer you my compassion as a gift to the beloved, to the divine, as an act of worship? Right? He says, once a merchant was shipwrecked, he floated to the shore of Ceylon, where Vibhishana was king of the monsters. Vibhishana ordered his servants to bring the merchant to him. At the sight of him, Vibhishana was overwhelmed with joy and said, he looks like my Rama, the same human form. He adorned the merchant with robes and jewels and worshipped him. When I first heard the story, I felt such a joy that I cannot describe it. Right? So he saw a person that just looked like his. It's like you and I meeting someone who looks like Holy Mother or Ramakrishna, and we just go nuts. We're like, and we give him nice clothes and put garlands on him and offer him our food and whatnot, right? But for Thakur, he saw this, and this is where he got the permission that yes, God could be worshipped through humans. And that Vivekananda, who's his primary student, comes out finally in the end and says that actually is the highest form of worship. It's higher than going to the temple and offering to an image. It's a higher form to see God in living beings and to worship him through those living beings, right? By our love and our service for each other, being in the presence. Vaishnav Charan said to me, if a person looks on his beloved as his Ishta, he finds it very easy to direct his mind to God. The men and women of a particular sect at Shyambazar near Karmarpakur say to each other, whom do you love? I love so-and-so. Then know him to be your God. When I heard this, I said to them, that is not the way. I look on all women as my mother. I found out that they talked big but led immoral lives. The women then asked me if they would have salvation. Yes, I said, if you are absolutely faithful to one man and look on him as your God, but you cannot be liberated if you live with 5 men. Right? So the problem with their act was that they were asking themselves first, who do I love? Right? They were allowing themselves a particular to go, I love that person. Then that person's your God. Now you have to go and serve him like God, But they were apparently, not learning to love with equanimity, where, in equanimity, you take the person at random and you love them like God, right? And that's the proper way. So we don't look for the advantageous people to worship, the people that have the most money or the best looks or the kindest hearts. That's not how we do it. We just open our eyes, and the first person we see, that's God, and we worship, through them. We're kind to them, we're sweet to them, we forgive them in every activity. We're just seeing them as our beloved and acting accordingly. Right. And now, so he was saying to them, because of this particularization, when you particularize, decide to love somebody for their traits or qualities, then you don't get any growth. You don't have to grow to love them. And so he's saying with them you're just being immoral if you're if you've picked the five handsomest people in the room or most beautiful people in the room, and those five are going to be your God, and you're going to worship them from that perspective. There is no realization in that. That is delusion, right? But if you just if there's five people in the room and you just serve them all, irregardless of how they're treating you or what your attractions are, those aren't the important thing. The important thing is you seeing the image of God in them. That is beneficial. That will bring you to your realization. I understand that Kedar Babu has recently visited the Kartapaja place. Master, he gathers honey from various places, He likes going to these different religious organizations and getting his little bits of nectar from all different flowers. If a devotee believes 100% that his chosen ideal is God, then he attains God and he sees him. People of bygone generations had tremendous faith. What faith Haladari's father had. Once he was on his way to his daughter's house when he noticed some beautiful flowers and bilwa leaves. He gathered them for the worship of the family deity and walked back 5 or 6 miles to his own house. Once a theatrical troupe in the village was enacting the life of Rama. When Kaikeyi asked Rama to go into exile in the forest, Haladari's father, who had been watching the performance, sprang up. He went to the actor who played Kaikeyi and cried out, "You wretch!" and was about to burn the actor's face with a torch. He was a very pious man. After finishing his ablutions, he would stand in the water and meditate on the deity, reciting the invocation, "I meditate on you," of red hue and 4 faces, while tears streamed down his cheeks. When my father walked along the lanes of the village wearing his wooden sandals, the shopkeepers would stand up out of respect and say, "There he comes." When he bathed in the Halda Pukur, the villagers would not have the courage to get into the water. Before bathing, they would inquire if he had finished his bath. This is just showing, that Thakur's father was quite a pious man and highly respected by others. That they showed him that kind of respect, based on that. And he was showing us as to why, his defensiveness when, when Kaikeyi was going to, ask Rama to go into exile, he jumps up and has a physical response for that because he was so enamored of his chosen ideal. And so as Thakur is saying, he's saying here that if your chosen ideal, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Rama, or any stand-in, anything that you have that takes you to your highest ideal of love or makes you think of the highest love, that ideal, through cherishing that ideal, you can reach the divine. That can be the placeholder for you. When my father chanted the name of Raghuvir, his chest would turn crimson. This also happened to me. When I saw the cows at Vrindavan returning from the pasture, I was transported into a divine mood and my body became red. Very strong was the faith of the people in those days. One hears that God used to dance then, taking the form of Kali, while the devotee clapped his hands, keeping time. A Hatha yogi was staying in the hut at the Panchavati. Ram Prasanna, the son of the Krishna Kishore of Aryadaha, and several other men had become his devotees. The yogi needed 25 rupees a month for his milk and opium. So Ram Prasanna had requested Sri Ramakrishna to speak to his devotees about the yogi and to get some money. The master said to several devotees, "A Hatha yogi has come to the Panchavati. Go and visit him, see what sort of man he is." A young man of 27 or 28, known as Thakur Dada, entered the room with a few friends and saluted the master. He lived at Baranagar and was the son of a Brahmin Pandit. He was practicing the Kathakatha, and in order to earn money to meet his family expenses. At one time, he had been seized with the spirit of renunciation and had gone away from his family. Even now he practiced spiritual discipline at home. The master to him, have you come on foot? Where do you live? Dada, yes, sir, I have walked from home. I live at Baranagar. Master, have you come here for any particular purpose? Dada, I've come here to visit you. I pray to God, but why do I suffer now and then from worries? For a few days I feel very happy. Why do I feel restless afterward? Master, I see. Things have not fitted quite exactly. The machine works smoothly if the mechanic fits the cogs of the wheels correctly. In your case, there's an obstruction somewhere. Yes, sir, that must be so. Well, are you initiated? Yes, sir. Do you have faith in your mantra? A friend of Thakur Dada said that the latter could sing well. The master asked him to sing. Thakur Dada sang, I shall become a yogi and dwell in love's mountain cave. Greg wrote a music to this. I shall become a yogi and dwell in love's mountain cave. I shall be lost in yoga beside the fountainhead of bliss. I'll stop. I'll save you guys. I shall appease my hunger for knowledge with the fruit of truth. I shall worship the feet of God with the flower of dispassion. I shall not seek a well to slake the burning thirst of my heart, but I shall draw the water of peace into the jar of my soul. Drinking the glorious nectar of your blessed lotus feet, I shall both laugh and dance and weep and sing on the heights of joy. The master, what a nice song. Swami Prabhupada didn't care for that song because he said, why I shall become a yogi. He says, you are a yogi. Why are you singing about becoming a yogi? Master, what a sweet song. Fountainhead of bliss, fruit of truth. Laugh and dance and weep and sing. Your song tastes so very sweet to me. Why should you worry? Pleasure and pain are inevitable in the life of the world. One suffers now and then from a little worry and trouble. A man living in a room full of soot cannot avoid being just a little stained. Dada, please tell me what I should do now. Master, chant the name of Hari morning and evening, clapping your hands. Come once more when my arm is healed a bit. Mahimacharan entered the room and saluted the master. And Sri Ramakrishna said to him, he has sung a nice song. Please sing it again. Thakur Dada repeated the song. The master to Mahama, please recite that verse, the one about devotion to Hari. Mahimacharan recited, quoting from the Narada Pancharatra. What need is there of penance if God is worshipped with love? What is the use of penance if God is not worshipped with love? What need is there of penance if God is seen within and without? What is the use of penance if God is not seen within and without? Master, recite that part also. Obtain from him the love of God. Mahimachara recited, O Brahman, O my child, cease from practicing further penances. Hasten to Shankara, the ocean of heavenly wisdom. Obtain from him the love of God, the pure love praised by devotees, which snaps in twain the shackles that bind you to the world. There's some wonderful little things in here that we should point out. First, that this young man is coming to the master for teaching, and his only real complaint is, that sometimes I get worried. I'll be fine for a few days, and then I get worried and I get restless. What's wrong? What should I do? And I love how Thakur just tells him, you live in the world. This is the nature of the world. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. This is normal. Just carry on singing the Lord's name, right? He gives them the instructions, the exact instructions that he gave earlier when someone asked, how do you increase devotion? He says, sing the names and glories of God as often as you can, and so for us, there's the instruction. Anything that you feel is lacking in your spiritual life, what's he say? Sing the names and glories of God. Spend some time dancing with the beloved, you know, go and read some Hafiz poems and just sit there and mellow out and, suck on it like a candy. Just, just read it over and over. And each time, just enjoy that piece of candy a little bit more, right? The love of God is meant for you, and it's meant to be your fulfillment. It's meant to be your strength. It's meant to be your joy, right? It's meant to be your everything. And so, this love of the divine, this is what we bathe ourselves in. That is the reality. Love is God. God is love, you know. The more we see that everywhere, the more we practice that, the more we respond to that with in kind, the more and more and more freely we flow. The more and more freely we flow with life. So chant the sing the names of in the morning and the evenings, clapping your hands, right? So really get into it. Dance, get up and get going, get the blood flowing. Let God know. I'm here. Really, it's a matter. Just take the lid off, chill out, you guys. Don't be so protective and, so controlled all the time. In matters of love, in matters of relationship with the beloved, to, take the roof off. Get in there, really sing, really dance, run around the shrine, be crazy, for love, for God, in that sense. And he's saying here, that this love is everything in our practice. It's like, if you don't have any love, then what's the point of practice? And if you do have love, what's the point of practice? Right? He's pointing here to the ultimate reality. He says, you already are what you are. You already have that realization within you. It's not how you're chasing it. It's the fact that you're chasing it. So stop. It's like, what the need is there of penance of God if he's worshipped with love? If you're worshiping God with love, there's no need for penance. Why worry about that? And he says, what is the use of penance if God is not worshipped with love? Right? What is the one most important thing? The love of God, the love of your neighbor. That's how Jesus put it. This is the most important thing. So get about the most important thing, loving constantly, loving everywhere. And in your practice, receiving the love, opening to the love of the divine with your faith and in the grace of that flow of love from the beloved to you. Recite that part also, obtain from him the love of God. O Brahman, my child, cease from practicing further penances. Hasten to Shankar, the ocean of heavenly wisdom. Obtain from him the love of God, the pure love praised by devotees, which snaps in twain the shackles that bind you to the world. Right? So he's saying, you're not here for penance. You're not here to pay for things, to get rid of things. You're here for the love of God, to celebrate the love of God, to grow in the love of God, to soak in the love of God, to increase your ability to understand the love of God, right? And so make this the point of your practice, the point of your life is to be what you are. And what are you? You're an ocean of love, an infinite supply of love. There's no need to have the ego measure it out in small little quantities based on likes and dislikes. You're here to open that bottle fully and to dump it in all directions simultaneously. Yes, Shankara will bestow the love of God, the master says. Mahima, one who is free from bondage is the eternal Shiva. Master, shame, hatred, fear, hesitation, these are the shackles. What do you say? Right? So that's exactly, these are the effects of not accepting grace. They are shame, they are hatred, they are fear, hesitation. These are the shackles. These are the things that bind you down. And what is freedom from that? The love of God, the grace of God. Your faith and grace becomes greater than your faith in the shackles. Right? You believe that God has forgiven. You have believed that God loves more than you believe that you are wicked and that your wickedness binds you down. and that you have to pay for it, and you have to do your penance, and you have to do this, that, and the other. You say, no, 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 this is not what religion is about. Religion is about love, and love burns away your penance. Singing the names and glories of God burns away your shackles. Mahima, yes, sir, and also the desire to conceal and shrinking before praise. Right? The desire to hide things, the desire to do things in secret, and the desire to try and shrinking before praise, trying to avoid praise because you don't want to become egotistical. Well, faith in God's love removes that fear, removes that tentativeness. It just gives you that sense of freedom, that sense of equanimity. So somebody praises you, you have another flower to toss at mother, So like that, we focus on love, we focus on grace. We don't focus on our wickedness. We don't focus on our shortcomings. We don't spend our time trying to fix things that we've done wrongly. We spend all of our time in the company of God by chanting his name, reading his stories, knowing his nature, and then going into our own practice to touch that nature, to find it within ourselves. The Lord has pointed right at the heart and said, that's my drawing room. That's where I hang out, in my living room, right there. So if you're looking for me, come in, right? Come to the source of love in yourself and find me there. There are two signs of knowledge. First, an unshakable buddhi, right? A buddhi, that is your discernment between right and wrong. You're never confused about what the right thing is. So that means that you have proper knowledge, the knowledge of what you are, right? The non-relational knowledge, the unchanging knowledge, the knowledge that doesn't change with time, about the eternal subject. So two signs of this knowledge. First, you have an unshakable buddhi. You always know the wise decision, right? You're not, the ego's not in charge, so nothing you're saying is trying to serve the body mind. Nothing that you're trying to say is selfishly oriented, right? You always say with integrity what is right. No matter how many sorrows, afflictions, dangers, or obstacles one may be faced with, one's mind does not undergo any change, right? So you're steady. This is the person of steady wisdom, the enlightened soul. You're not affected by conditions and circumstances. Why? Because you are unchanging, and you know that to be the truth. You know that which changes is but a dream. It cannot access you. You are only the observer of it. So no matter, he says, no matter how many afflictions and sorrows, it doesn't matter. There could be walls of them coming at you. If you're established in God, you have a buffer of love around you that's impervious to condition and circumstance. So you're sitting there smiling, gently dealing with fending them off as they fly at you. But no concern, no worry. He says it's like a blacksmith's anvil, which receives constant blows from the hammer and still remains unshaken. And second, manliness, a very strong grit. If lust and anger injure a man, he must renounce them once for all. If a tortoise once tucks in its limbs, it won't put them out again, though you may cut it into 4 pieces. To Thakur Dada and others. There are 2 kinds of renunciation, intense and feeble. Feeble renunciation is a slow process. One moves in a slow rhythm. Intense renunciation, it's like a sharp edge of a razor. It cuts the bondage of Maya easily and at once. One farmer labors for days to bring water to the lake, from the lake to his field, but his efforts are futile because he has no grit. Another farmer, after laboring for 2 or 3 days, takes a vow and says, I will bring water into my field today, and not until then will I go home. He puts aside all thought of his bath or his meal. He labors the whole day and feels great joy when in the evening he finds water entering his field with a murmuring sound. Then he goes home and says to his wife, "Now give me some oil and I'll take my bath." After finishing his bath and his meal, he lies down to sleep with a peaceful mind. You see, what's he telling you there? If you're going to stand up and say these things are the most important things in your life, then live a life where that is obviously true. Right? This is a big old challenge for me. I read things like this. I'm like, wow. If someone followed me around today and watched everything that I said and watched everything that I did, and then you asked them as a third party, what is the most important thing in Swami C's life? What would they say? You know? And in your life, if someone followed you around today, just all day taking notes, and then came to me and I said, yeah, tell me what's Gita's most important thing in her life? What's she going to say? What are they going to say? So this is what Thakur's saying. He's saying, put your money where your mouth is. Do not be deceived. If it's the most important thing in your life, then make it the most important thing, right? If it's not the important thing in your life, make it the most important thing. The instructions are the same. Life has no value without this. If you do not have this love, life will not give you any satisfaction. You want peace of mind on your deathbed. You want peace of mind in your old age. You want peace of mind today. Then live according to your knowledge and renounce everything that's contrary to your knowledge, to your nature, right? Your nature of love and wisdom. Renounce everything that is not of that nature and go forward very boldly, very strongly, with true grit. When you make a mistake, jump up, get back on the horse immediately. Don't sit there and nurse your wounds and moan and weep and think that somehow by being meek and mild and beaten up for a moment that you're going to pay for your wrongdoing. That's just wrong thinking. Get back up immediately. Real grit. That's what he's looking for. Get up. I made a mistake. I will not do it again. And you don't sit and think about it anymore. You just get on with life. You get on with growing. So he says this is what we're looking for. Do the most important thing first, and then go home and enjoy your wife and your bath and your dinner. Right? So don't run out and enjoy the world first. Marshal your strength, get your practice going, get some depth in yourself until God goes with you wherever you go. And then go out to the world and enjoy it, because then you can enjoy the world without getting caught. If you go out without God, there's no knowing what's going to happen to you. What is going to take the place of God in your mind? Who knows? Right? So it's a call to action. A certain woman said to her husband, so and so has developed a spirit of great dispassion for the world, but I don't see anything of the sort in you. He has 16 wives, and he's giving them up one by one. The husband, with a towel on his shoulder, was going to the lake for his bath. He said to his wife, "You're crazy. He's not going to be able to give up the world. Is it ever possible to renounce little bit by little bit? I can renounce. Look, here I go." He didn't stop even to settle his household affairs. He left home just as he was, the towel on his shoulder, and went away. That is intense renunciation. That's the way to do it. None of this, I'm getting around, I'm growing, I'm changing. I'm getting up now at 7. I was getting up at 9 30 years ago, but now I'm up at 7. It's like, go, jump in and do it. Do what you know is right. Don't wait another moment for it. Jump in, be excited about it. Just go, do this. And don't stop doing it. That's the grit, Make it happen. So you didn't realize God today. Well, you were a fool another day. Now you've got tomorrow. What you didn't do today, do tomorrow. Right? Do your practice. Do it deeply. Do it the best you can. Enjoy God. Think of God often. And whatever didn't work today, change it so that you can try again tomorrow. but take account and be purposeful in your spiritual life, be purposeful. Find out about this love of God. Ask him about it, ask her about it, sit and ruminate about it. Read these scriptures, hang out with people that are actually in love with God. Find them and spend time with them to get this perspective. There is another kind of renunciation called Markata Vairagya, monkey renunciation. A man, harrowed by distress at home, puts on the ochre cloth and goes to Benares. For many days he does not send home any news of himself. Then he writes to his people, "Don't be worried about me. I've got a great job here." Right. So this is that momentary renunciation. You break up with your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Oh, I'm never going out with anybody again. This is horrible. Right. You lose your job. Oh, I renounce. This is so foolish. I hated all of this anyway. But it wears off after time, and you return to it. Oh, well, it's not so bad. I can go ahead and do this. And so this is what we want to avoid. And unfortunately, this is where we spend a lot of our time. Right? And so really, between us as holy company, as each other's holy company, let's draw each other higher by each one of us making a decision for ourselves. Push forward in this. Make a grand renunciation. Be true to it. Fight to be in the presence of God all day long. Fight to be aware of that love. Do what is necessary. If you've slouched, now's the time. Today's the moment, right? Because we can do this in a moment if we want to. Why drag it out for another life, or 2 lives, or 10 lives, or 1,000 lives? You can have it now. So give yourself permission to take a chance. Give yourself permission to take a risk, and go home. Jump. There is always trouble in family life. The wife may be disobedient. Perhaps the husband earns only 20 rupees a month. He hasn't the means to perform the rice eating ceremony for his baby. He can't educate his son. The house is dilapidated. The roof leaks, and he doesn't have any money to repair it. Therefore, when the youngsters come here, I ask them whether they have anyone at home. Why should householders renounce the world? What great troubles the wandering monks pass through. The wife of a certain man said to him, "You want to renounce the world? Why? You will have to beg morsels from 8 different homes. But here you get all your food at one place. Isn't that nice?" Wandering monks, while searching for sadhavrata, right, which he says here, an eating place where food is supplied free to monks and beggars. So wandering monks, while searching for a place to have this free food, they might have to go 6 miles out of their way. I've seen them traveling along the regular road after their pilgrimage to Puri and making a detour to find an eating place. You are leading a householder's life. That is very good. Okay, there you got it right from the master. You're leading a householder's life. That is very good. No problem in that. It is like fighting from a fort. There are many disadvantages in fighting in the open field. So many dangers, too. Bullets may hit you. But one should spend time in solitude and attain knowledge. Then one can lead the life of a householder. Janaka lived in the world after attaining knowledge. When you have gained it, you may live anywhere. Then nothing will matter. Mahima, sir, why does a man become deluded by worldly objects? Master, well, it's because he lives in their midst without having realized God. Right? They've gone out into the world before they knew what the world was. They went out into the world before they knew who they were. And if you go out into the world without knowing who you are or what the world is, then many things are out there to feast on you. Many things are out there to trap you and to catch you. Right? And so spend some time. Go into solitude regularly as a householder, as often as you can arrange it. If you can do it every weekend, that's not excessive. If you can do it every evening, that's not excessive. But take some time where you just go out, leave the cell phone behind, leave the tablet behind, leave the books behind. Just go and spend time with God, whatever that means to you. If it means going on a date with God where you write him a little card and you dress up a little bit for him and go in and surprise him in the shrine. Pour him a little drink and you have a little drink and sit there on the shrine, leaning casually on the shrine, having a nice little glass of whatever it is that you and Thakur want to drink together that you both have agreed on, that I won't get into. You sit there and enjoy your time with the beloved. Do it that way if you want, or go out into the woods and talk to the trees. Say, what can you teach me about the divine? And sit there in solitude until they get an answer to you, until you know it in your bones. This is what the tree taught me about the divine today. Walk through the woods looking for beauty. Mother, show me something beautiful that you made just for me today. Right? Go, look for it until you find it. Be determined. I will not leave the woods until I find what you gave me, Mom. And when you find it, you'll know. Mom, thank you. And then you sit down with her for a moment, right? And enjoy this. So develop love in yourself, love for love. And go out and spend time in solitude with you and the beloved. No one else bothering you, nothing else distracting you. And spend that time as much as you can, so that when you go out in the world, you know who God is. When you go out into the world, you know who you are. And you live accordingly through inspiration. You're not pulled out of yourself and then running after this, that, and the other all day long to come home exhausted. Right? Sir, why does a man become deluded by worldly objects? It's because he lives in their midst without having realized God. Man never succumbs to delusion after he has realized God. The moth no longer enjoys darkness, even if it has at once seen the light. So there's a promise. Once you know God, once you realize God, that's it. Right? Once you have that vision, that's one thing that Thakur or Sri Swami Prabhupada told me about a spiritual experience. He says, if it's a true spiritual experience, you will be changed from it. You will see a marked change in yourself from that day forward. And he said, furthermore, it won't diminish in your mind. You'll always be able to pick it up and look at it in your mind. And it will always be just a little bit clearer than reality. So he says, this is how we know. So this isn't a temporary fleeting thing. This is why we're trained to look for the changing, to know that it's unreal, because the unchanging, which is the divine beloved, is that one unchanging thing in your life. And so fall in love with that one unchanging thing and it never goes away. God, with the divine, with God, you will fall in love with God more every day for the rest of your days and beyond. God is infinite, and falling in love with God is an infinite experience. You will fall in love a little bit more every single day for eternity. Every time you wake up, you'll be a little bit more in love. And that's why Brahmananda says Nirvikalpa Samadhi is just the beginning. That's just the marriage. After that, there's an infinity. Look at Vivekananda, when Ramakrishna, I think of the great master, he says that he jumped over the wall in the indivisible and ran over to one of the 7 stars, the rishis that were in deep meditation. And so life goes on well beyond the shrine in your bedroom. One day you'll be a star. There's a star in the sky, deep in meditation, right? And what is that star producing? Light, love, right? One day you will learn how to produce enough love to be a star, pumping out, love that could be felt billions of miles away, that could be seen across time. So this is what we are. This is what we're called to. We shouldn't lose sight of it for the mundane. We shouldn't think small. You are the light of the sun, waiting, just waiting for the ego to dim so that it can shine. To be able to realize God, one must practice absolute continence. Sages like Sukadeva are examples of Urdhvareta, these ever perfect, these ever pure souls, a man of unbroken continence. Right? Sages like Sukadeva are examples of Urvareta. Their chastity was absolute and unbroken. There is another class who previously have had discharges of semen, but who later have controlled them. A man controlling the seminal fluid for 12 years develops a special power. He grows a new inner nerve called the nerve of memory. Through that nerve, he remembers everything. He understands everything. Loss of semen impairs the strength, but it does not injure one who loses it in a dream. This is getting a little bit more personal than I want to. That semen one gets from food, what remains after nocturnal discharge, is enough, but one must not know a woman, right? The semen that remains after nocturnal discharge is very refined. The Lahas kept jars of molasses in their house. Every jar had a hole in it. After a year, they found that the molasses had crystallized like sugar candy. The unnecessary water part had leaked out through the hole. A sannyasi must absolutely renounce woman. You are already involved, but that doesn't matter. A sannyasi must not even look at the picture of a woman, but this is too difficult for an ordinary man. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, are the 7 notes of the scale. It is not possible to keep your voice on ni all the time. To lose semen is extremely harmful for a sannyasi. Therefore, he must live so carefully that he will not have to see the form of a woman. He must keep himself away from a woman, even if she is a devotee of God. It is injurious for him to look even at the picture of a woman. He will lose it in a dream, if not in the waking state. A sannyasi may have control over his senses, but to set an example to mankind, he should not talk with women. He must not talk to one very long, even if she is a devotee of God. Right, so he's talking in terms of ideals here, and that it's not that sex in and of itself is an evil thing or a wrong thing. It's that it's a very powerful thing. And if we don't have it under our control, then we will most definitely be under its control. Right. And so the talk of this energy that builds up, it's really for that. It's male and female, that when we engage in sex or identifying ourselves as bodies, seeing each other as bodies, there's nothing like that sexual idea to bond you like super glue into the idea of a body. To reach the pleasures of sex, you have to be thoroughly the body, and the person that you're with has to be thoroughly the body, right? And through deep identification with your own body, and they with their body, then your bodies become attracted to one another, and this deep attachment then gets sealed by this, fine jolt of pleasure that you get as a result of it. And there's nothing more binding to us than that, right? There's nothing more that calls our mind more than that. And so that is what we have to be careful of. We have to be careful not to be caught by these things that will never have a satiation point, right? With sex in particular, the more you have, the more you will desire, and the more of your mind it will occupy, right? And if you don't learn to control yourself, you will be controlled by it. We don't want to be identified with body. We don't want to be identified with gender. We don't, it's because of lust, and because that this whole world falls into its gradations. It's because of lust that some people are ugly and some people are beautiful. It's because of lust that some people are rich or poor. It's because of lust that people become old or young. right? All of these things we judge about each other are based on this idea of lust, you know, and it's it's very detrimental to us because it exhausts us. It makes us cruel in the end, right? Just look at a haughty, beautiful person. If some man who isn't up to par, you know, in his looks goes and invites this beautiful woman out on a date, will she kindly say to him, "Oh, sweetheart, no, I can't go"? You know, it'll be like that, that clueless, like look like as if, right? There's a cruelty in it, and that's what this does to us. Living in the world like that turns us into cruel people, selfish people, always trying to get our own best, our own advantage. And so this is why he's so severe about it, why he's so strong about it, right? It's like don't take these things lightly, don't flirt with them, don't make a little bit of room in your life for them. It's like transcend, go beyond, go beyond, go beyond. Don't let them catch you. That's all. Don't get caught. All right. So we'll stop there for tonight.